All right, fellas, welcome back. Today we're going to do a video called The Basics of Defense. This is probably not going to be quite as long as the Basics of Offense video I just put out, because we're just going to talk about the defensive concepts. There are lots of defenses that you can use to start off playing Madden if you're a beginner. The 4-3 over is a good one, and the 4-3 even 6-1 is a good one. Nickel 3-3 is probably my second favorite basic defense to use. It's an excellent defense. It's always sort of just under the meta range, right? You can do a lot out of it. But for the purposes of this video, I think it's important to come out in a symmetrical formation, okay? It simplifies things. It makes your defensive settings a lot more easy. You can just sort of set them and forget them. So I think dime is what I would recommend that somebody comes out in. If you'll notice, it's a symmetrical formation. There are 4 defensive linemen. So it's going to be fairly efficient at stopping the run, and you have a lot of defensive backs. So it's going to be really good at stopping the pass, okay? And you can generate a lot of pressure out of the dime formation. So the dime normal is the defensive formation that we're going to use for this video. The first thing we need to do is to set our coaching adjustments, okay? We're going to keep auto flip off because we want a particular blitz to come in from the left side, okay? We're going to turn auto align to base since it is a symmetrical formation. When you set it to base, it will come out in the exact same look every single time. They will not know what defense you're calling, okay? And then for option defense, you always want to go to conservative. I would never mess with cornerback matchups. At least right now, they're wonky right now. So just keep this at balanced. And then strip ball and tackling, I would suggest keeping these at balanced. You can go aggressive on one and conservative on the other, but I think it's best to just go balanced right now. And then for our zone drops, we're going to keep these at default for now, okay? So in this dime formation, okay, you're playing defense. I'm going to assume if you're a beginning player that you're not playing, say, in MUT right now or competitively online. The tips still work very well. But one of the things I think that people struggle with, more advanced players, is you go through periods where you start to over-adjust, okay? And we're going to go over some of those adjustments that you can make in this video here. But I think keeping defense basic and simple. I remember in Madden 16, I played a guy, and I think I had been on like a streak. I played 3 top 25 ranked guys in a row and just demolished them. And I come up against this guy, and he just ran basically the same 3 defensive plays. And he did not make adjustments. And we ended up talking. And he's like, I've played Madden so much. I really fell into a trap of making too many adjustments. I just come out and stock defenses. Every once in a while, I might make one adjustment here or there. So the only adjustments that he ever made was to shade up or shade down, or to crash his line, or pinch his line, or crash it out or in, or contain. And that's really what we're going to do in this video. Okay, we're gonna work on simplifying defense and making it so that somebody has to beat you. And if it's the CPU, they're going to have a hard time beating you. As a warning, the CPU is a little bit more cracked out this year. The CPU, even on rookie, every once in a while, man, the CPU, you'll have a hard time stopping it. So anyway, let's get into it. There are 2 different types of defenses that you can call: man and zone, right? Let's look over man. We have a DB blitz here. We have a cover 1 robber press. We have a cover 2 man, and then we have a linebacker blitz 1, right? And that's basically a cover 1. So if you look at the shells, you've got a cover 1 robber shell here, where there's a vertical hook in the middle and a deep safety, right? If you look at cover 2 man, we have 2 deep safeties. That's the safest man coverage that you can call. And then for the LB blitz 1, we're bringing heat, and we still have at least one guy over the top to help in case of emergency, okay? So let's go ahead and come out in the DB blitz. Let's go with the riskiest defense and the highest reward defense. You'll notice we have 4 defensive linemen rushing and 2 outside defensive backs blitzing as well, right? So we are bringing 6. So if you come out in this defense, you can see that everybody is manned up one-on-one. And again, like I said, we're rushing 6 guys. We can leave this stock, okay? And it'll play just fine. But again, this is a high-risk, high-reward defense. We, as a user, cannot come back and help out unless they block their running back, okay? So if one guy gets beat off the line, it's most likely going to be a touchdown or a very big gain, okay? So just be aware of that. What can we do to help this heat come in? Oftentimes, spreading your defensive line or pinching your defensive line will help with heat coming in, and it will also help with the run. So you'll notice we have a gap here, and a gap here on the defensive line. The gap over here is a little wider, so if they switch to an inside run, they might have some success over here, okay? So what can we do? So if we hit left on the D-pad, you'll notice that we have some defensive line adjustments that we can make. We can pinch, spread, shift left, or shift right. In this case, we're going to pinch. That's down on the left stick. And what that does is that drags our defensive linemen a little closer to each other, okay? And as a note, in Madden 25, they've kind of nerfed the pinch this year because there was a lot of trouble with pinching and crashing down, where there would be sort of this pinball effect where you would get sort of these instant sheds up the middle, right? So they've kind of nerfed the ability to pinch too much this year, but it does help. What else can we do? We can hit left on the D-pad, and if you look on the right stick options, we can crash outside, we can crash inside, we can crash to the left, or crash to the right, okay? Now, in this dime formation, we have blitzers coming from both sides. So it would be okay for us to slant left or right. Slanting outside is probably not recommended because we have 2 blitzers coming from the outside. It could work, and I've done it before, but I prefer to take the right stick and go down. And now we've crashed the line. And you might have to do this twice to get the play art to work the way you want as a note. But that's basically our setup right now. Okay? Now, this is man defense. So we need to look at some coverage adjustments. Okay? And again, these are just going to be basic coverage adjustments. If you hit triangle, we can shade over the top, we can shade underneath, we can shade inside, or we can shade outside. In this case, I would probably take the right stick and I would shade to the outside because this is gun tight, right? And you'll notice that those routes are most likely going to be breaking to the outside. Also, if you shade to the outside, it kind of helps push the routes inside in case your user, it gives your user a little bit more of a chance to maybe make a play, okay? So in this case, we just have this man defense, we've shaded outside, we've crashed our line down, okay? And that's really all we have to do. You don't even have to shade. If you want, just practice pinching your line and crashing them down, okay? And, you know, in this case, we'll go ahead and run the play, and we'll see how it is. Again, high risk, high reward with this play because it's all man defense. Not bad, not bad. Now, we're going to come out in the cover 2 man, okay? And this is why I like the dime defense, because we have 4 linemen. You know, a lot of these 3-man defenses, you'll blitz an extra guy and it's really 4. Here we have 4 guys who are just dedicated to rushing the passer, and we don't really have to mess with that very much. So we're going to come out and cover 2 man, and we're just going to do the same play. Now, we have a little bit of freedom here. We've got more safety, okay? Well, not to be punny there, but we've got 2 deep safeties. We have a lot more safety. It's going to be hard to beat us deep, okay? So it's the same principle. What can we do with our line? Left on the D-pad, let's go ahead and pinch them. And instead of crashing, what we're going to do is we're going to press R1. And if we press R1 again, we have now contained, okay? And that's going to make it more difficult for the quarterback to roll out. Be warned, in Madden 25 this year, we thought that this might be fixed. It's not. If somebody wants to, if you're playing a human and they want to roll out, those contains are not going to do very much. It's very easy if you have a halfway fast quarterback to just roll out away from those contains and have plenty of time to make a pass, okay? But against the computer, it is more difficult for the computer to roll out if you contain. So we're going to contain, and this is really all we have to do. I do want to talk about who we're going to use here, okay? My recommendation, and if you want, go back into my videos for Madden 24 and look at the videos of how to become a user god, okay? That explains how to use her very well. I will be doing an updated version of that for this year, but for now, go back and look through the videos of Madden 24. It's a really good video. It basically tells you all you need to know about usering, okay? But if you're going to use her, most people will use their middle linebacker, okay? You want your user, your middle linebacker, you can have it as a safety as you want, but it's going to be your sub linebacker 1. You want him to be as fast as possible, as tall as possible, and as agile as possible, okay? Because you are going to be covering a lot of green with your user, okay? And the user really can make a difference. In this case, we have to cover the running back, so our user isn't going to make a lot of difference on this play, okay? Unless they block that running back, then we're free to run, okay? So again, this defense is safer, but it doesn't have as much heat, right? So we'll let this play out really quickly. And you see we got good coverage, and you'll see up top we had help from the safeties. We'll check the instant replay really quickly. There's really nothing open on this play. We had the safeties helping with those corner routes on the outside, and we had really nice coverage underneath without any adjustments, okay? So we basically had this play bagged. And you'll notice that one of our defensive linemen was getting ready to, he actually just shedded, and he's getting ready to come in to create pressure, right? So we bagged that play. Now, we're going to talk about what I recommend to come out in, okay? Very first play, whoever you're playing, if it's a human, come out in this play. If it's against the computer, to learn defense, I think this is the best defensive play to use. Cover 4 quarter. We've got cover 3, cover 6, cover 3 bus seam, cover 4 palm. But cover 4 quarters, I think, is just a nice basic defense, and I'm going to explain to you why. Notice, again, we have a symmetrical formation. We have 4 deep zones. We have 2 quarter flats. We have a rec hook here, which is our user, and we're rushing 4, okay? So what are we going to do here? I'm going to recommend pinching your line. Left on the D-pad, down on the left stick. I'm going to recommend crashing down, okay? So you'll see everybody's pointed inward. It's the best way to get just sort of random sheds, right? Now, what can we do with this, and why are we doing this? Well, these 2 safeties up here are in run fits by default. That makes cover 4 a really good run defense, okay? Now, if you're playing the computer or against a human, I would recommend, if you come out in cover 4, or pretty much any defensive formation, drag these safeties down about here, just about 10 yards or so from the line of scrimmage. If they hand the ball off, these safeties will react right away. But they're not so close in the line that they can't get back and cover deep, okay? The only thing that we really need to decide is, do we want to keep those quarter flats, or do we want to press triangle and down on the right stick, which changes those into hard flats. We're basically shading our zones underneath. Conversely, if we press triangle, and we go up on the right stick, we're back to purple zones. It doesn't show it in practice mode because Madden is just glitchy. But you see we have cloud flats, which are similar to those seams, right? So That's really the only adjustment we need to make, is shading down or shading up. And in this case, you can shade a second direction. You can press triangle and you can go right or left with the right stick. We're going to go right to shade outside because most likely we're going to get corner routes because this is a tight formation. We're going to get corner routes and flats out here. Okay? This is all I would worry about right now. Okay? I would just leave this, except I would go triangle down on the right stick and shade underneath. So we're shading underneath and to the outside. We've got hard flats covered. And we've got the outside kind of covered, right? And we have everything deep. If they run, we can stuff that run pretty well with this formation. So let's let this go ahead and play out and see how it works.
Ready.
Pretty well. Things were pretty well back. They could have completed a pass probably to one of those corner routes, probably the one on the left there, right there, right here. They could have probably completed that. This would have been a little bit of a tighter throw. But you'll notice our user was in position to intercept this if he threw it. And that's why I was kind of lingering over here. Right? So they had basically one route open that they could have thrown. But notice we got the disengaged sack. So now, we're going to come out in a blitz. Okay? And this is going to be the final play that we go over. Dime blitz 3. Okay? This blitz still works very well. It comes in much better from the left side, the left of screen side. Okay? So we're going to hit R2, and that flips the play. Okay? So we're going to come out in this defense. Now, this is what's called a cover 3, right? You'll notice we have 3 deep zones. So we're very safe from getting bombed deep. Doesn't mean we can't get bombed, but we're very safe from it, right? And then we have these seam flats, these purple zones. We have 4 defensive line rushers, and we have an outside blitzer, right? So what is the best way to basically run this play? In my opinion, you can crash your line or pinch your line and crash them down, which is just fine, right? But what I like to do with this dime defense is I'll press R1 and I'll go down on the left stick. What that does is that pinches our entire defense and it brings those outside defensive backs down. And I will generally do this 90% of the time in this defense, okay? As a note, you can get burned deep. You couldn't in Madden 24 very well, but you can get burned deep a little bit with this. But it's generally pretty safe because we do have some heat coming. We're rushing 5 guys, okay? The only other thing we need to do is, do we want to shade down or do we want to keep those seam flats? So let's go ahead and press triangle and let's shade underneath, okay? Now, if you want, this will help sometimes. If you press left on the D-pad and you press left on the right stick, your line will now crash toward the blitz. And that can help this blitz come in, okay? So we're going to do that in this case. We're going to let this play out. And remember, our job as a user is to roam the middle of the field here, right? So let's just go ahead and let this play out. And you see, we got instant pressure. And again, you guys, this is on all Madden. So this isn't some, these aren't any little tricks. This is just real stuff that works. It works in games against computer. It works in games against human. So watch this. We got to disengage. Even though our blitzer didn't come in, he got bumped, we still got to disengage because we were rushing 5 and we were hovering in between. Right? We were hovering right here. And this is all we had to do for our setup. Right? We just pinched our defense. I'll go ahead and reset it. R1 down on the left stick. Left on the D-pad, left on the right stick. Triangle down on the right stick. So now we have hard flats and we have deep zones. we've got a 5-man rush, and we're hovering over here and taking the middle. This is a very good defense, a very good basic defense. Your weakness is going to be the seams, okay? If these guys come out, which we know they are, they can quick throw these. So we may have to guess on one of them, okay? And there are a couple of other tricks that you can use to mitigate this, but that's a little bit more advanced. But honestly, just go basic. The computer doesn't really hit these seams as much as a human would. So we'll let it play out one more time. And really quickly, if you want, drag these safeties down so you keep the same look that we did in the cover 4, right?
Ready?
Pretty tight coverage, right? So you guys, those are the basics of defense. Now, really quickly, let's talk about Tampa 2. Tampa 2, you'll notice we basically have hard flats or soft squats on the outside with our cornerbacks. We have vert hooks essentially in the middle. We have 3 of them, and we have 2 deep safeties, right? It's a really good standard defense. There are some weaknesses to this defense though, okay? Tampa 2 is a great defense. It really, truly is, you guys. But what most players do is they do some adjustments, okay? For more advanced players, this becomes a Swiss Army knife, okay? You can take all of these zones here. You know, you can go here, you can go here, here, and here, and all of a sudden we have a double Mabel setup, right? So we have the left and right side completely blanketed, leaving us to be in the middle and roam, right? And for this play, this is actually a really good setup. All we have to do is just roam the middle. And the only thing we have to worry about as a user is if they have something right up here in between the hashes. Okay, so if we see a streak going there, we have to bail and take that. But we can stand right here and just worry about the middle of the field. And let's go ahead and let this defense play out. And you can see how effective that was. Again, we were just rushing 4, right? But look, all of the receivers are covered. There is not a single throw that can be made except for this outside guy over here, right? But he didn't have time because the pressure came in. And you can see, just with a 4-man rush, that's why this dime defense is so great, not just for beginners, but even for advanced players, because you're rushing 4. And you'll notice this guy over here, even though he's down, you get these pinball effects when you crash down, right? Crash your line down. These are really the basics of defense, right? A full, no help over the top, man blitz, a cover 2 man, a cover 4 quarters, a Tampa 2, and a dime blitz 3, right? So we've covered cover 2, cover 1, cover 0, cover 2 man, cover 4 quarters, and cover 3, right? As well as the Tampa 2 defense. This is all you need to beat the computer. And you can see, even in practice mode, we're literally bagging the computer. There's not much that the computer can do. It doesn't mean that they won't get gains, right? But my suggestion to you is just be patient. Safest defense is cover 4 quarters, right? My favorite defense to use against the computer is dime blitz 3. I feel like that is almost as safe as cover 4 quarters. And frankly, you have a greater chance at a sack or an interception with that defense because of the pressure you're generating, right? Tampa 2 is great because you can adjust out of it. But again, that's a little bit more advanced. It's a really good stock setup, but there are weaknesses, okay? You'll notice there are weaknesses for corner routes with the Tampa 2, okay? And that's why I did that double Mabel setup, okay? Cover 1 Robert press. Very similar to cover two, it's just that you have help over the middle and help deep, but it's only one person each. Whereas cover two, you have two deep help, right? Pinch your line, leave them stock. I prefer to pinch my line. It really helps with the run. And if you crash your line down, it helps with those sort of pinball disengages to get just natural pressure. Rushing, if you're going to rush it from the outside, I recommend rushing from the left side as a beginner. I rush from the right side a lot. People don't expect it as much, but just as a beginner, flip this play and rush from the left. This will work. If you play against human opponents, this will work against probably, oh gosh, a majority of players. Average players are going to struggle against this defense. If you play against a computer, you're going to do a really good job. Okay? Now, really quickly, look at the cover six. What do we have going on here? We basically sort of have, it's a hybrid defense, right? So we got like a cover two to the left and a cover four to the right, right? So we've got help in the flat on the left side and help over the middle on the left side, as well as deep. And then over to the right, we have that traditional cover four setup, right? Cover three buzz seam, right? It's a cover three with two vertical hooks, two middle zones in the middle, and then two curl flats on the outside. And you can take those curl flats and you can shade them underneath and turn them into hard flats, okay? Now there's a lot more adjustment that can be done. Trust me on this. If you've ever watched any of my videos, you'll see I can be an adjustment freak, right? I love turning defenses into something that they weren't originally intended to do, right? But if you stick with these tips and you come out, just keep playing the CPU. Just keep playing the CPU. Cover four and dime blitz three. I use those 90% of the time. Every once in a while, I'll throw in a cover two man, and every once in a while, I'll throw in a Tampa two. But against the computer, and then of course, every once in a while, I'll go ahead and DB blitz, right? But 90% of the time, dime blitz three, cover four quarters, you're safe. Make the computer work its way down the field. Make your human opponent work their way down the field. Keep everything in front of you. You can generate pressure with the dime blitz. You can cover the run really well with cover four quarters, and it's a very difficult shell to beat, especially deep. So you're safe. You have two really good run setups out of these two plays, cover four and dime blitz three, right? Everything is set up for you with this dime normal defense, okay? And remember the adjustments. Auto flip off, auto align to base, option defense to conservative, right? Everything else, keep default. My recommendation, okay? So, I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Be on the lookout for the next video. Again, I'm going to do a moderate to advanced video for both offense and defense. But as always, have a great day.